Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Oji.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you this morning?
I'm good.
Perfect. Good morning, Ayo. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good.
Good morning, Vimbai, our favorite Niger wife. How are you this morning?
Great, and yourself?
I'm just okay because this morning we're starting what's trending on a very sad note.
Vimbai, the story you brought yesterday, it was a country that first did this expropriation of land.
Oh, really? Was that my story? I think it was newspaper review, probably. Did I talk about land?
Was he? Okay,
No,
it was
You are now confusing me with Adefemi Akinsoya.
No, she's your friend. She's a very good friend.
Very, very good girl. Well, all right. Well, unfortunately, like I said, we're starting what's trending today on a very sad note. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending with a tragic fire incident in Zamfara State that killed 17 children. At an Islamic school on Wednesday, authorities say they're investigating the incident, but it is reported that a fire broke out in a nearby house on Tuesday night and spread to the school while the children, believed to be aged 10 to 16, were sleeping. Several other pupils were injured in the incident and rushed to health centers in the town of Kauran Namoda. Well, let's take a reaction to this story. This is from Peter Obi, who wrote on X. My thoughts and prayers go to the immediate families, the Zamfara State Government, who have lost their loved ones and those currently receiving treatment. This painful incident reinforces the urgent need to install safety measures in our schools. The state government must demand a thorough investigation into the cause of this fire and ensure that such disaster never happens again. As a nation, we cannot continue to lose our children, the very future of our country, to preventable tragedies. I appeal to both federal and state authorities to strengthen school infrastructure, enforce safety regulations, and invest in emergency response systems. Our children in Nigeria deserve to learn in a good and secure environment. And I think that is the main point. Our children deserve better. Too many lives lost. Only recently we lost children in Oyo State, and now we are seeing this sort of incident. I believe that Peter Obi's tweet re-echoed President Bola Tinubu's statement, which is the fact that, we have to secure our children, we have to secure our schools. Those young children, needless death, 17 of them, way too many. And what's going to happen in the future? I mean, the incident was so bad that even if firefighters had come at the time of the incident, the report says, they wouldn't have even been able to go into the school to stop the fire. So it also beggars believe that schools can be built in such environments like that. Really, may their souls rest in perfect peace. We need succor for the family. We know that in the meantime, the First Lady of Nigeria, Oluremi Tinubu, has donated 100 million naira to families of those that lost their lives in the recent tanker explosion in Niger State. The donation was made during her private visit to former military president Ibrahim Babangida through her Renewed Hope initiative. The First Lady said that 70 families would receive 1 million naira each from the donation, while the remaining funds will be used for food and other essential supplies. I must also commend the First Lady for always jumping into action. I mean, we have seen through her Renewed Hope initiative, she's been, coming to the aid of these people that have suffered such disaster. Bimba, I'd love your comment before we take another story.
All right, very quickly, I think Aya did a great job of dissecting the Zamfara issue earlier in the morning, which is around the fact that the protocols were not taken, or they don't exist. The firefighters came and they didn't have they didn't have anything in their fire extinguishers to be able to extinguish the fires. These are just really needless, preventable errors.
Absolutely.
And it's so unfortunate. You ask yourself, okay, do they even have a protocol to say, when there's a fire, this is what you do? Do they do fire drills? I remember when I was in school, they used to do stop, drop, and roll. Right. We were taught, that if you ever caught on fire, stop, drop, and roll. And it's with me until this age. You ask, are these things still being taught in these schools? So it's so sad and unfortunate because it was extremely preventable preventable. It did not need to get to this stage. But you ask yourself, in some of these buildings, I won't name names, but there's a lot of events, Oji, that I've stopped going to. You know, I've told you this before. There's a lot of concerts and events I've stopped going to because I was in one of the popular venues the other day and I looked around and I said, there's no fire exit in this place. So God forbid, if something goes wrong, there's actually no way for us to evacuate this venue. And it's needless, and it's something that really needs to be corrected. Kudos to the First Lady for coming up to, you know, with her philanthropic efforts. She has been very consistent with her philanthropy. I know many people will still be curious as to the source of the funds of her philanthropy, and I hope she can be more open to her books and let us know who her benefactors are and so forth, because that'll just ensure that this philanthropy, it leaves a good taste in people's mouth, because people do worry. Yes, we know the role of a First Lady is very much philanthropic, but we also do want to follow through, let it be totally transparent, and let's know who are the benefactors and how do they raise these funds. But, you know, great that the funds are going to great use.
Absolutely. Well said, Vimbai. Really well said. Well, may our children, may their souls rest in perfect peace. No parent will want to bury their child. I mean, really. Something's got to give. The school system needs to be saved. These children are our future. May their souls rest in peace. We'll take another story now. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has criticized National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, accusing him of serious amnesia for denying past remarks allegedly made against President Bola Tinubu. Ribadu, through his lawyer, had demanded a public apology from PDP chieftain Naja'atu Muhammad, who claimed in a viral video that Ribadu once labeled Tinubu as corrupt during his time as EFCC chairman. In a rebuttal on X, El-Rufai backed Muhammad's claims, accusing Ribadu of selective memory. Let's read a part of El-Rufai's tweet there. El-Rufai wrote on X, Nuhu must have serious amnesia. Naja'atu's statement is accurate. The record of proceedings in the Senate will confirm that Nuhu made those statements sometime in 2006. Well, he went further to provide some other documents. And then finally he wrote, this is for the record, and to remind the morally flexible that at some point in our national life, silence is no longer golden. Well, Ribadu was made to respond to the comment he allegedly made in 2006 while briefing the Senate on anti-corruption activities during a presidential debate in 2011. Well, Ribadu was alleged to have said, and I quote, that Tinubu is a looter of international dimension. Well, here's his response.
With respect, Kadria, I did not say so. I never said he's a looter of international standard or whatever. What I said, and I was making report to all the cases that we were investigating then, I said the case of Bola Tinubu was a case involving international dimension. It was not a case that was being handled by the EFCC. Therefore, I will not have much to say about it. In any case, I have never come out to judge and sentence an individual before taking him to the court.
Dr. Abati, Nuhu Ribadu there back in 2011. I mean, but this El-Rufai is coming out to speak so strongly. But Nuhu Ribadu has maintained that those allegations are wrong. He dismissed them in a strongly worded letter, insisting that he never made such statements and condemning the viral video's impact as unquantifiable, which the video that Naja'atu had posted on X.
Okay, very quickly, Trouble in Paradise.
Yes.
That would be the title of what we seem to be commenting upon. Nasir El-Rufai and Nuhu Ribadu, they used to be very good friends. Obviously, a trailer has passed between them. And then you find one friend attacking the other friend who is now not exactly a friend. Now, Nasir El-Rufai is saying that there was an evidence from Daily Trust report in 2007. There was evidence from Federal Executive Council meeting also in 2007 that can be subpoenaed to confirm all of this. Well, I don't think all of that is going to happen. The reality that we have is that Nuhu Ribadu, now NSA, since made up with President Bola Tinubu. At the time, he was even presidential candidate of the ACN, which President Tinubu led there, and it was President Tinubu who even shopped him, headhunted him to come and be presidential candidate. Now, even if as chairman of EFCC, he made a statement that looked like it, and he talked about President Tinubu, OjyOkpe, and Senator Uzokalu. It is on record that these persons have not been convicted, President Tinubu especially. Even if EFCC investigated him, even if there was an issue at the Code of Conduct Bureau, nowhere in Nigeria has President Tinubu been convicted for corruption. And he's today president of the country. So that's how I say this is trouble in paradise. But Nasir El-Rufai, who seems to have now developed a passion for fighting everybody. He's fighting Uba Sani. Yes. That's his name, right? Yes. The guy who is governor in Kaduna State. Yes. Now he's fighting Nuhu Ribadu. He's by extension fighting the president. He has said, look, a time will come when the truth has to be told. So I think he may have assumed the role of a whistleblower. And I think that there may be a lot that we will get from a whistleblower, Nasir El-Rufai. These are persons who have benefited from the Nigerian system. So the whistleblowing could be to the benefit of the Nigerian people. But the residual point is that there is no record that President Tinubu has been convicted anywhere. Yeah. So these are just mere allegations. This is a case of vulgar abuse, two fighting, among persons who have benefited mostly from Nigeria. If Nasir El-Rufai has more to say, we would like to hear. However, the two previous topics that you brought very quickly, so that I don't, overstretch the subject. Mrs. Tinubu, yes, we applaud her generosity. But the question to ask is, where is the money coming from? The victims of fuel scooping in Niger State at the Diko Bridge, many of them died, right? So I think we have to return to that residual point. The governor of Niger State has already banned the movement of fuel tankers on that Diko Bridge. 3 incidents in 1 month. Horrible. What is the guarantee that when the next tanker collapses on that bridge, people will not go and scoop fuel? That is what Nigeria needs to worry about. Yeah. Transportation. How many people will Mrs. Tinubu give 100, is it 100 million? 100 million. 100 million, after their people have died in fuel tanker collapses. Again, there is also a geographical matter to it. The people of Enugu State have also complained that another tanker, had an issue at, is it my 12 they call it, or last mile, whatever, in Enugu State. They too, they are asking for their own money. But the question is, where is Mrs. Tinubu getting this money from? Yeah. Is it that...
She said Renewed Hope
Initiative. The Renewed Hope Initiative, who is funding it? Where is this money that keeps coming out? All right, we have in a remarkable style. Yes. Everywhere there's a problem, Mrs. Tinubu comes to the rescue. The people of Enugu are asking for their own. Okay. And I'm sure Lagos State, did you people have a tanker?
No, we didn't have any tanker explosion.
So that you can ask for your own.
I guess this is what we'll have to do. We'll probably have to invite her or go and visit her and ask her those questions. But again, it is from her Renewed Hope Initiative. So she has said, but like you said, accountability. We need to know who is donating. Wow, Dr. Abati, I'm sure you are part of the people donating. We know you. Struggling journalist. We know you. Well, all right.
I'm a struggling journalist.
Well, all right. In another development, following up on the story of the Olorile of Orile Ifo, Oba Ogunjobi, who assaulted a 73-year-old man publicly in a viral video. Well, on Wednesday, the court granted him a 10 million naira bail, which he could not meet. And so he was remanded at Ilaro Correctional Center in Ogun State. The case was adjourned to March 6th. I mean, we're seeing here that this man has been remanded. He couldn't meet. Apparently, they asked him for 2 shorties and, people that could come and, vouch for him, and No one could vouch for this man. I mean, how remarkable. A monarch, a king, no one could vouch for, but he's in jail. Yeah. A king in jail, an Ogun king in jail. Well, in the meantime, before I come to you, Ayo, human rights activist Deji Adeyanju has accused the police public relations officer Muyiwa Adejobi of abusing his office by suppressing free speech and unlawfully detaining citizens who criticized the police. The activist made the comment in a video that went viral on Wednesday, adding that Adejobi has turned the role into a tool for intimidation rather than public relations. Let's take a look.
The Nigerian people must be mindful of Muyiwa Adejobi, this first PRO at the first headquarters. This guy thinks that police work. He thinks police PRO work is about surfing the internet and arresting people that criticize the police. He thinks first PRO work is about jailing people, especially people that criticize the IG, people that criticize the police institution. Was this how Frank Omba and other PROs, was this how they were conducting PRO work in the first headquarters? Muyiwa Adejobi is guilty of suppressing citizens' rights and freedom of speech in the country. Yes. And we're going to take appropriate legal and constitutional actions against him to serve as deterrence against other people like him in the police force who continue to victimize and witch hunt people. And this is also to sound a serious note of warning to the Cybercrime Center of the Nigerian Police, that the work of the Cybercrime Center is not to be arresting people who are opposing or criticizing government, or who are criticizing the police authority, or who are criticizing and calling for accountability in the police. That the work is to go after internet fraud,
cyber criminals in general,
cyber terrorism and cyber criminals, not to go and be arresting people that criticize the IG, people that criticize Commissioner of Police,
and people that criticize their girlfriend.
Yes.
Well, let's sure. People that criticize their girlfriend. I mean, they are making points here. That's what Omerele said, that he remanded somebody in jail for 21 days for criticizing his girlfriend. Remember, I took this story of the Charles, and I did tell you that I got the report saying that, Charles was remanded because he was abusing the former AIG of police. And now we are seeing his lawyer here saying that this man is still in jail. His parents are begging for him to be released. What's really going on here? We are seeing, this monarch could have gotten a bail of 10. He could have gotten a bail if he had it. He would have been out. But why is this boy still there in jail?
Yeah, so I'm so glad you put the two stories side by side, starting with the monarch. I think yesterday, Dr. Batia talked about something really important, which is that demonstrated the fact that there were no sacred cows when it comes to law and order, when it comes to justice in Nigeria. I hope this is the case. Sometimes now we can see that there are kings and there are kings. Yeah. There are monarchs and there are monarchs. If this monarch cannot get 10 million naira in terms of the two shorties, it means that his grade was not that gradable. And so you can understand why perhaps he's been used as a scapegoat. I say this because there are a number of people who've also assaulted people in public, high-ranking officials. In fact, we called the member of the House representative, whom the taxi driver even came out to apologize for accusing him wrongly, even though we all saw on video how he assaulted the man. He's not in jail currently. He's probably still in the house. And the boat driver came out to apologize. I was just saying that different strokes for different people, depending on your standing. So whilst I'd like to see the justice system as being fair and equitable, we've seen in many instances where high-ranking people in society who publicly abuse people tend to get away with just a little slap on the wrist. Now, coming back to this guy, I think, you might not always agree with Deji Adeyanju, but on this point, I think he makes a solid point, and it's a point that we've made a number of times on this table. In fact, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago where we argued or debated as to the efficacy of the Cybercrimes Act, because it doesn't seem, or the police doesn't seem to be using it for the reason why it was set up. That some lawyers even called for a total, let's just do away with it. And some people said, we can modify it, we can look at it again and see the gray areas and work on it. But what the police has consistently done, and unfortunately, Muyiwa Adejobi has come up a number of times as, being guilty of this, where someone comes out to speak against the government or say something or insult on social media and you say it's Cybercrime Act. When there are loads of Yahoo boys on the streets walking free, when there are people who are, who are engaging in cyber fraud, walking on the streets without that, I don't know to what extent they've used that cyber crimes law for. And people are crying that, don't gag the people. This could be a veiled attempt to stifle the freedom of speech of Nigerians. Because now you think twice before going on online to talk about, to criticize the government.
That's
you
what
think twice before
yeah.
going up. If you have an opinion that I don't think the government is serving me well, or it is a different, you should be free enough to do so. Yeah. At least we're guaranteed by the Constitution to freedom of speech. I know there's an extent to it, but it shouldn't be seen as a witch hunting tool. The law should be used for what it was set up to do, and I think it's great that Badenoch has come out in defense of his client to say that, can there be due process? Can it not be seen as a witch hunt? Can it be seen to be fair in terms of the process?
I know we have to take our next
a quick footnote on the Sergeant Toba Ogunjobi matter. Well, I think there's another story in circulation that he's not been able to perfect his bail conditions. Not because nobody has come forward, but because in the statement that he wrote, he recorded his name as Abdul Semiu. Whereas on his national identity card and on his bank card, the name that is there is Semiu Adewale Ogunjobi. And it's important for the police to make sure that it is the right person bearing the right identity, that is being granted bail. I'm sure if they sort that out, he will be granted the bail. The case has already been adjourned till March 6th. Yes. But the lesson is for all traditional rulers to know that we are no longer in pre-colonial times when a king can say, I'm the Alashe, the lawmaker after the Orishas. We are in a democratic dispensation where nobody is above the rule of the law. So the sergeant, retired sergeant, must be learning his lessons appropriately.
Right, all right, well said. We'll take another story now. In another development, Senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, who is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Diaspora and Non-Governmental Organizations, has decried the spate of mass migration, otherwise known as Japa, by Nigerians to foreign countries in search of greener pastures, saying that the development must be reversed in the interest of the nation. Natasha made the comments at the committee's maiden meeting on Wednesday. Let's listen in.
Begin to look into the reversal of the Japa syndrome. We cannot keep, as a country, we cannot be comfortable losing the best of our kinds. We cannot. But again, how do we reverse the Japa? You cannot force someone to stay here. I always believe that patriotism is earned, not forced. And there we have also identified a few steps that we can build our economy here using our diaspora energy. All
right, it's amazing that Natasha is speaking this way. I mean, I love that she's actually chair to that committee. It's good to see a woman in the forefront speaking. But, she made a lot of valid points. She's saying things like, we have to look at other countries like India that have been able to reverse their Japa syndrome and now, have become, a great communication or technological hub. What are your thoughts on that?
Nigeria has done it before, so Nigeria can do it again, which is, of course, under the leadership of, Olusegun Obasanjo. There was a mass appeal. There was an intentional effort to convince people to come back home. But how do you do that? You just do that by creating a conducive environment. You don't have to invite anybody to come back to Nigeria. People want to be in Nigeria. That's the honest truth. People want to. There's no place like home. Yes, people are in the US, the UK, and whatever. It will never be like home. The diaspora is not an ideal place to be. However, at the end of the day, it's because of lack of opportunity, no electricity, no water, struggles with healthcare, just you name them, all of the fundamental things that one needs to survive are a struggle. So I think it's a fantastic campaign, but at the end of the day, the foundational issue is that when the issues are resolved that push people to migrate, you won't even, you see how people come home for dirty December. People want to come home. People love Nigeria. So once we resolve and create a conducive
in
environment.
that same meeting, and she talked about diaspora remittances as well, which she says is quite, one of the greatest assets that we have for our Nigerians living in the diaspora here. But, a lot of Nigerians say, why would we come back home? What are we coming back home for? I mean, but people like Peter Obi have said things like, you know, our brain drain will be our brain gain eventually. I don't know what your thoughts are if you juxtapose both.
To be honest, I think there's no coming back yet.
No coming back yet?
Yes,
okay.
In light of the current economic climate, it will take a while. I totally agree with you that some of the best years in terms of our economy was under the Obasanjo years. And we saw a lot of young Nigerian people who had gone abroad to school come back to set up businesses here. Many of those businesses have closed up. Now, why I say this, so let's leave that for now, the economy is not speaking good things. But like you said, there's a benefit to it. I think that if we manage this process properly, we can, and that's why that NIDCOM, headed by Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erera, is very critical to continue to engage our people abroad. Totally correct. Nigerians sometimes are the ones who know about the news here, even more than the people living here. They are interested in what's happening back home. So we can find a way to harness their experience, what they've gone to gain there, and maybe when the economy settles, we can then attract them back. And then also investment as well. Make it conducive for them to invest the monies they make, abroad back home here whilst we sort ourselves out, and then they're able to come back
Dr.
home.
Bati, before I come to you, I'd like you to tie in both stories. We'll head over to the United Kingdom now, where the leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, in one of her first policy announcements since becoming leader, said that immigrants should only be able to apply for British citizenship after being in the country for 15 years, rather than the current 6 years stipulated by law. Badenoch also stated that indefinite leave to remain, which paves the way for citizenship, should not be granted to those who have criminal records or who have claimed benefits or social housing. Badenoch spoke to the BBC. She further stressed that having British citizenship was not just a right, but a privilege, and should be for those with a meaningful connection to the country. I know, look at your face. We're seeing these immigrants making laws like Trump. Kemi was an immigrant.
Thank you for telling
and I mean, Dr. Bati, please, over to you.
Well, Auntie Jemima, Kemi Badenoch, Badenoch, Badenoch. Never fails to disappoint.
Yes.
Again, Auntie Jemima, is copycatting, Donald Trump and playing to the gallery. I said earlier on that she should be more concerned with the loss of popularity of the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party, which she leads, has gone down in reckoning, and the Reform UK, led by Nigel Farage, has almost more or less overtaken the Conservative Party, pushing them to third place in terms of popularity. But after a fashion, as leader of the opposition, she must criticize everything. Now, this is a lady who herself is somebody who went to England, whose parents went to England as immigrants. And now she say, she will clamp down on immigration. So there's an irony there.
Serious irony.
The third point is that, well, truly, immigration has been a major problem, but the Conservatives themselves created the problem. The Labour Party, inherited it. One of the things that Keir Starmer is trying to do with regard to illegal migration, particularly across the channel, is to see how he can correct the errors made by the Conservatives when they were in power. So, but quickly, on the issue of Natasha Akpoti, just to interrogate two things. If you have problems in your country, your citizens will find opportunities elsewhere. It happened at the turn of the 19th century in Ireland, when Ireland became a provider of talents and geniuses for other countries. That's number one. Number two is that Mrs. Akpoti is saying that they will get the database of Nigerians abroad in all the countries of the world. Which database? Half of the people that jackpot abroad, they have no record.
Undocumented.
Even if you want them to come. These are the same people that Trump wants to send to Guantanamo Bay. She has cited the example of India, that a lot of people are working in the tech industry, they live in India, they are not leaving their country. It's simply about governance. It's about providing an enabling environment for your talents to thrive. And we have a lot of talented people in Nigeria who want to thrive here. It's not everybody that will be like me, or like Ayo, or like you. You were in the US.
Yes.
You came home.
I came home.
To say, Nigeria is our country.
Let's make Nigeria great. Let's make Nigeria great.
Thinking their decision, Oji, like,
But
you push me, I push him.
No vex, but at the end of the day, Nigeria is the only country we have, really the only country we have. I think we should just take our good news report. Before we end what's trending today, let us highlight journalist and social media sensation Dan Bello, who took it upon himself to construct a community well in a village near Daura, the hometown of former President Muhammadu Buhari, and just 23 kilometers from Shagale, the hometown of former Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika in Kaduna State. Well, according to Bello, the community has faced the issue of water scarcity for years. Let's take a look.
Suna wannan yarinyar Abida ta zo ne daga ƙauyen Irlami Santal Lema kuma ga tunan ranar 11 ga watan Agusta na shekarar 2022. Tana share awa ɗaya domin samun ruwa mara tsafta wanda ake amfani da shi a gida.
This man is amazing. Dan Bello, this is not the first time we're taking his story. There was one time that he had to reconstruct his school. Now we are seeing that he did this well. I think that it cost him about 4.3 million naira to do that well. And he built it, to provide clean water as part of his efforts to improve living conditions through sustainable community projects in his area. I want us to just have a few seconds to speak on Dan Bello.
Good that you highlighted the fact that it's close to the former president who was there for 8 years and didn't build a wall in his community.
Yes.
So to see that an individual is spending money to do that, this is what we talk about governance and accountability. But I'll just let that go. Thank you very much, Dan Bello.
What this also proves is the limit of the politics of proximity.
Absolutely.
Katsina has produced 2 presidents.
Yes.
Buhari and Yar'Adua. So when you think if my man is there, he will help us.
Yes,
exactly. It is not true.
It is not true. Well, all right. Kudos to Dan Bello. This is what we can all do as our part as Nigerians. Well, thank you so much for your contributions on What's Trending today. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.